Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Self-Help Skill Hub. I do want to start before we begin with a brief land acknowledgement and say that with gratitude, we acknowledge that the land First Safer Space meets on is on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and that we are all treaty people. We are grateful to be working and living on this land, and it is our responsibility to take care of it. Okay, so again, welcome back to our Skill Hub. Once again, my name is Kristen, and I am a fourth-year social work student studying at Ryerson University, and I am working toward my Bachelor of Social Work degree. And I am also a placement student here with For a Safer Space. So today we're going to be talking about grounding exercises as part of our skill. Grounding exercises have many uses and there are various kinds, but I have chosen 3 specifically that we will go through today. But first, what are grounding exercises? So grounding exercises are self-soothing exercises that we use to regain control of our thoughts or our emotions. Sometimes our thoughts and emotions can become very overwhelming, so these exercises are a way to help calm us and to be in the moment with those thoughts and emotions. Grounding exercises are most commonly used when experiencing some kind of an anxiety, maybe panic, self-harm thoughts, or really any negative thoughts, intrusive thoughts as well, dissociation. There are many other situations that we can use grounding exercises in, but these are just to name a few. There are also many kinds of exercises. A lot of them involve some kind of a mental component with your mind, but some are also focused to be more physical with your body. Usually involve some kind of breathing, but not necessarily every exercise does. Some are also some focus on your environment. So for some grounding exercises, you would actually take a walk or leave to go to a different place for you to relax. And some also involve movement, again, with the body and the physical sensations. But for today, we're going to be focusing on 3. One is called, or I'd like to call tracing a square, but it's also known as square breathing, holding an object that's close to you, as well as writing or thinking of positive affirmations. So starting with tracing a square or square breathing. First thing is to find a square. It doesn't actually have to be a perfect square. It could be a rectangle, but it has to be a 4-sided shape. And you could find this wherever you are, in a door, a window, it could be a ceiling panel or a mirror, it could be a desk or a chair, just anything with 4 sides. But if the headspace you're in doesn't really allow you to look around as much, it's okay to just close your eyes and think of a square, because that will work just as well when we're doing the breathing part of this exercise. So the idea of finding the square in the room or the 4-sided shape in the room with you is that you're actually going to follow it with your eyes as you breathe. But first, decide which 2 sides you're going to inhale and exhale, and then which 2 sides you are going to hold the breath. So the idea is, as you move your eyes around the square, you're going to inhale for 4 seconds as you trace with your eyes up one side of the square or shape. You're going to hold it as you trace your eyes across the top or bottom, depending, for 4 seconds as well. And then you're going to exhale it, going down the other side, and then hold it again for the last part of the shape. The reason why it's a 4-sided shape is that it is the most common shape we are to find wherever we are. And we hold it for 4 seconds, and that's easy to remember because, again, 4-sided shape, and we're holding our breath for 4 seconds. And you can continue tracing this square for as long as you need. The idea is to focus on the breathing through this exercise, but also it involves the concentration and focus of actually following the sides of the square with your eyes. And it will look something like this. So if you don't actually have a square that you want to trace with your eyes, you can picture what the square in this picture in your head and do the exact same exercise. It'll have the exact same effect. Once your breathing is a little bit more regular, usually it helps ground you and calm. So the next one is holding an object close to you, and it could literally be any object. If you feel the need to grab one quickly, you feel the thoughts and emotions coming on, just grab whatever is close to you. But it doesn't necessarily have to be random. It could be an object that brings you some kind of a comfort, could be something that you love or was given to you by someone you love. And again, it could be any object. The other thing though, think of all your senses, not just touch. While we are going to be holding this object, think about what you like to look at. Is it pleasing to look at? Or maybe it has a nice scent to it. Maybe it has a nice smell to it that may bring you back to a happier memory. So the more senses that you involve in this object, the more effective grounding exercise it would be, because again, it just encapsulates you and helps calm you. But it's important to think of these objects before you need them. Again, when we're in a headspace where we're experiencing a lot of distress or in crisis, we're not often thinking about which object would be best to grab. So if you do find yourself in a calmer state of mind, maybe think of an object that you would like to have when you are in some kind of distress. And that way you already know what you're reaching for when and if the time comes. And you could be really creative with this. You could make your own object to as part of this grounding exercise. Or, excuse me, you could make it, you could borrow some, or maybe even have a little collection of them. And that in itself could be a really great self-care activity. But anyway, once we've decided on this object, you have to hold it in your hands, preferably both hands, and you're putting all of your focus and attention on holding this object. And you're going to think about all aspects of it. So how does it feel in your hands? Maybe it's heavy. Does it feel light? Is it big or is it small? Maybe it's a little bit cold to touch. It could be warm. Maybe your fingers are feeling a little bit cold in comparison to the object. But also think about texture. Is it rough? Is it smooth? Maybe it's soft like a stuffed animal. Also think about the color. Maybe name some of the colors. How many can you name? And how many different shades of one color there is. It's recommended too to not just name the larger categories of colors like red or blue, but go into maybe it's teal or aquamarine or maroon, just to have a little bit more to say about the object. Maybe even think about any positive memories that were associated with the object. Because again, the object or the reason for the grounding exercise is to help calm you. So if there is a positive memory that you like to reflect on in those moments, then that is a really great way to do that as well. But of course, then there may not be a memory, and that's okay, especially if you're, say, sitting at a desk and just grabbed a pen. There may not be a positive memory associated with that, and that is all right. So usually you would do this between 3 to 5 minutes, but really you could take as long as you would like. You could even continue to hold it even after you're done the grounding exercise, just to keep it close to you. And again, so the grounding is to just keep your attention on the object and a little bit less focus on what's going on in your head in terms of thoughts and emotions. And that can be a really great base to start to deal with those thoughts and emotions. So the final one that we're going to talk about today is writing and repeating positive affirmations. So you're going to find, or you could create your own, an encouraging or comforting phrase that you would like to hear when you're in distress. Here are some examples. You could say you're having a rough time, but you'll make it through. You're going to be okay, or everything's going to be okay. You are loved. You are trying hard. You are doing your best. And it should be something that you would want to say to a friend who's going through a challenging time, or what you would like your friend to tell you when you're going through a challenging time. You could also write them a little bit differently. You could write from the I, so instead of you are loved, you could say I am loved. That is just as effective, depending on how you write it. So you could write it out or say it out loud, but make sure to do it over and over. Again, it's recommended to actually physically write them out. So then you have the mental component as well as the physical focus of having the pen in your hand and writing it out. But depending on what you have on hand, it is not necessarily the best. And again, you could do this as many times as you need to feel better. So again, I want to discuss what grounding exercises help with managing anxiety, such as racing thoughts, but also racing heartbeat, maybe clammy hands. It can help with anxiety felt in the head, but also in the body. To simply calm and to feel more in control of our surroundings. Again, when our thoughts become overwhelming, it could feel very out of control. So these exercises is a way to remind us that we are in control. And also a way to stay mindful, just to be in the moment. But again, there's so many variations of these grounding exercises. It's important to find what works best for you. Maybe you find more breathing exercises are a little bit more beneficial, or maybe you find more physical grounding exercises are work best for you. It may take a little bit of exploring, but you will find what works. But when in doubt, if you are having a moment of distress, take a deep breath. That is probably the best way to ground ourselves if we are completely alone in a room with no objects or anything. The best thing we can do to start to ground ourselves and to start to take control of our thoughts and emotions is to focus on the breath. So with that, I'd like to thank you for joining me for this Skill Hub presentation, and I will be seeing you in the next one.